everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikki, and today we're gonna be doing a Q&A while I repot my plants. So as you saw my little montage at the beginning, I have a lot of plants, and unfortunately some of them didn't make it, but I typically repot my plants in the spring and in the fall just because my plants have a lot of growth in between those periods. And so I like to give my plants room to be able to grow, and sometimes they start dying if they're really root bound, and so that's why I like to repot them typically twice a year. But this time I had only repotted them like last spring, which is not good. So we're repotting them now, but first I'm going to show you a couple of my casualties. This guy got left outside, which is kind of unfortunate because this plant had actually survived being frozen in a car and was my oldest plant, I think. So that's kind of too bad, but it's fine. That one did not make it. This one also didn't make it. He's got like 2 leaves and I've kind of just given up on him, honestly. Kind of unfortunate, but it happens. And then I had one other one that I didn't bring, but it was like a miniature version of this guy that also didn't make it. But I'm out of breath from gathering my plants, so bear with me. But I have a list of questions here, and we will get started. We're gonna start off with this guy here. Okay, so my first question, I need to catch my breath. Just give me a minute. I think we got it. Look at that. Okay, we're gonna loosen up her roots a little. There we go. We're actually gonna set her down in here temporarily. I'm gonna be sneezing a lot in this video. Okay, so the first question is, what are you diagnosed with? I want to give this guy the best dirt. This one. We'll use this one. Okay, so I am currently diagnosed with, just let me open this so that I don't have to make any more noise. Okay, so I am currently diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, which stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, endometriosis. Is there something else? I think those are my main diagnoses right now, but we are currently also working on MALS, which stands for median arcuate ligament syndrome, SMAS, which stands for superior mesenteric artery syndrome, and nutcracker syndrome. I think we're gonna end up running out of dirt yet. Okay, plant number 1 is in its pot. I'm not going to fill them up all the way right now because I don't have enough dirt for that. I want to get as many potted as I possibly can. But question number 2, if I had to rank my illnesses, what would I rank them? So what I mean by rank my illnesses is which ones would I say affect me like the most? And yeah, basically that is what I mean. So currently, all of my illnesses kind of like their root cause is found in my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But it is common to have like a lot of diagnoses when you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so I'm going to say that the ones that bother me the most right now are the compression syndromes. And why I'm going to say that, even though we don't currently know if that is what's causing my stomach issues, I'm just going to say those ones for right now because they cause me a ton of pain. I literally have like, on a pain scale, my baseline for my compression syndromes is like between a 4 and a 6, just like with daily living. And then when I eat or when I do an activity or press in this general area, it can ramp it up to like a 7 to a 9 is basically what it is, and it affects me the most right now because I'm not able to eat. It causes me a ton of pain and I feel sick multiple times a day, which is not fun at all. So I'm going to say that those are the ones that affect me the most right now. So that is ranking spot number 1. Ranking spot number 2, I would say, is my POTS. I have to try and wiggle this guy out of here. He is really root bound. Come on. Oh. There's not a... Oh my goodness, you guys. Look at it. Look at those roots. Oh my goodness. He was very root bound in there. Very, very root bound. Okay, I need to catch my breath. This is a lot of work. Okay. Ranking spot number 2 would be my POTS currently, because as you can see, I'm sitting here on the floor. I've taken a salt tablet. I have an electrolyte drink just off the screen, and I am out of breath. My heart rate, let's see. 16 minutes ago, my heart rate was 165, so it was probably when I was up running around. Right now it is 111 and I'm sitting here. So, basically my POTS is kind of classified as unmanageable, untreatable right now. Or it's, sorry, not untreatable, but it's treatment resistant POTS is kind of how we are classifying it right now, because I've tried like 4 medications and I'm currently on 3 medications to manage it, on top of salt tablets, electrolyte drinks, compression socks, and not like, you know, just like regular daily management, which is really bad. So yeah, POTS is number 2. Number 3 would be my endometriosis. So, actually, I feel like, okay, maybe yeah. I will say number 3 right now is my endometriosis, but only because in this season I'm not able to be physically active, and so my joints don't bother me quite as much as they have in the past. Like in the past, I probably would have ranked like my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome joint pain as my number 1 spot because my joint pain was so severe. But right now I'm mostly bedbound, housebound, whatever. And so I don't get out a whole lot. And when I do, I am wearing braces. And so right now, I'll probably say that my endometriosis is my number 3 spot. I often feel like my endometriosis is not as bad as other people's, but it's also like hard to say that because I am doing things to manage it currently, and so it's not in the greatest spot. We know that we need to get surgery, but yeah, I'm gonna say that it's number 3 in how it affects me. Don't get me wrong, my periods are terrible. I have a portable heating pad, which is wonderful. Okay, that guy is done. And so that means like right now in last place, my joint pain from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome would be last place. But like I said, all of my conditions stem from my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So is it really last place? I don't know. Question number 3, how has your life changed since getting sick? Just let me pick my next victim here. Aren't these pots super cute? I got them at Walmart. Okay, we're going to do this snake plant next. Okay, so how has my life changed since getting sick? So before I got sick, I was a very active person, not just like physically active, but I was active like in the community, like in serving, in activities, in sports, you name it. So around the time that I got sick, I was like in my 20s, and so I was going to Bible college at the time, and I was involved in a lot of committees. I was serving on various like worship teams, and I was on, you name it, I did it. I was always busy. My roommate always joked that she never saw me because I was on student council, I was on a worship team, I was always in a meeting, you know. And when I started to get sick, my energy levels were really affected. And around that time, I was like teaching dance to like various people like in my school, like for outreach purposes, and I was teaching dance at camp, and then kind of the last straw for me was I was choreographing something for a class, and every joint in my body hurt, and I was covered in head to toe with kinesio tape, and I had braces on all of my lower like joints, and I was in so much pain. Like I could hardly even type my papers because my fingers hurt so bad. And I had a ton of stomach issues. I always felt sick. I would have these like weird attacks in the morning that like, I don't even know how to say like what happened, but it was like waking up with the stomach flu, not every morning, but a lot of mornings. And it made it really hard to hide the fact that I was sick. And so, yeah, I would say my life changed a lot in that I had to say goodbye to like a lot of my physical activities, and then as my illness has progressed, I've had to say goodbye to serving in church currently, like on worship teams and stuff like that. Ooh, this is a big guy. Oh, don't break. So I've really just had to give up a lot and just become more of like someone who isn't participating in everything, which is really hard for me because I'm very extroverted and enjoy serving like a lot. Also, Look at my big snake plant. You guys, he's a big guy. Just let me loosen up the bottom. Not too much though. So that would probably be the biggest thing that has affected like how my life has changed, is just not being able to be physically active. I mean, I'm also not able to eat right now, so that is kind of another thing. I think I have to put this guy here. And not being able to like participate in community things right now. But I'm hoping that won't be forever, because I used to be like a worship leader. I used to be a youth leader. I was very involved in my family's lives, and I was always hanging out with friends. And right now, it's a good week if I get out to go to church. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm gonna have to go out to get more dirt. I knew I was gonna need more dirt. I was just being cheap when I was originally out looking for dirt. Which is stupid, because it was on sale and there were coupons. Nikki, you should have bought 2. Anyways. Needs to be a little bit higher. A bit more dirt. I'm gonna layer some of this dirt in the middle. That's really dry. I have a mess to clean up over there. I'm just gonna... I broke a plant. And I almost fell on top of a cactus. This is getting chaotic. Anyways, question number 4. What is the biggest lesson that chronic illness has taught me? I feel like I have like a couple of lessons that I've learned, but one of the biggest ones would probably have to be that it's important to take care of yourself. When I was busy all the time, I didn't have time to take care of myself, and I also kind of cared about others' well-being more than I cared about my own. And I still struggle with this sometimes. Like, it's very easy for me to put other people's needs before my own. And I had to learn to put my needs before other people's wants, and sometimes their needs as well, because in certain circumstances, my needs are often greater than their needs, and so it's kind of something you have to gauge. And that's not saying that like my needs are worse or more prevalent or whatever, but than other people's needs, but in some cases it is. And so then I do have to put my needs first, because I need to take care of my body and do what's best for myself so that I can better help other people, is kind of something that I learned. Another thing that kind of goes with that is learning to love and accept my life and my body for what it is. It's not the life that I pictured for myself, but it's a good life. And my hope is that I won't be stuck this sick forever, but if I am, I know that God is with me, and He has blessed me with an amazing husband and an amazing family who, they're all there for me, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson I have learned from chronic illness. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm like out of dirt. Well, out of good dirt anyways. I need water. Okay, question number 5. Most difficult chore and most difficult task to do with my illnesses. Most difficult chore is probably tied between 2, that being vacuuming or mopping and cleaning the shower, so / bathtub. The reason those 2 chores are really difficult for me is because they elevate my heart rate a lot, because with vacuuming you're like up on your feet and also like pushing this thing around, and so I get really short of breath and my heart rate is usually pretty high when I do that task. And same thing with cleaning the shower. With bending down and coming back up and bending down and coming back up, I often kind of start losing my sight and get really dizzy and short of breath. And so those are 2 chores that are really difficult for me. And a task that is really difficult for me is showering, because also my POTS is highly affected by showering, because you are standing typically you're standing the entire time. Sometimes I sit down if my POTS is like really, really bad. But showering is a really difficult task when you have POTS because it elevates your heart rate. Before I was taking the medications that I was on, my heart rate would shoot up into the 200s when I would take a shower, and now it's usually around in between 140 and 160 is usually where my heart is at when I take a shower. And so I typically try to shower when I like either don't have a lot of tasks to do in a day, or it's the evening time so I can just go lie down and rest and go to bed after that. But if I have things to do, I really have to space it out and take time to rest after a shower. And so that would be a task that's really difficult. I need to go blow my nose. My husband just vacuumed yesterday. I'm sorry, honey. I do have a sheet down so that we don't get dirt all over the freshly cleaned floor, but I did just walk in the bedroom, so there might be a little bit of dirt. I'll clean it up later. Question number 6, favorite way to pass time. So, hold on, let me pick my next victim. It's really the same size. I might have to buy a new pot. I don't have enough medium-sized ones. Anyways, I think we're gonna repot this guy. This one resurrected from the dead. Like literally a couple years ago, it had 2 different kinds of bugs and was dying, and so I told my mom to just let it die in the garage, and she did not let it die in the garage. There it is. Looky there. Okay, so we're gonna pot this one. So, oh, it's in a pot. Does it need a new pot? I might just leave that one because I thought it was in like something like this inside of this basket, but it's not. It's in an actual pot in there. So for now, I'm gonna leave it because I don't have a lot of dirt. So that one gets to stay for now. I feel like I've started my sentence so many times. I'm so sorry, and this video is gonna be a nightmare to edit. But favorite way to pass time. So with chronic illness, I have had to take a lot of downtime, which is not the most common for me because like I mentioned before, I was a very active person. I like to be up doing things. And that's had to change a lot since getting sick. And so I've had to pick and choose a lot of hobbies that are low-key, that can help pass time when I'm not feeling the greatest, and some of my favorite ones. So when I have a little bit more energy, one of my favorite things to do is bake, but I currently am not baking because I don't have the energy and I'm not able to eat it. And my husband isn't a big sweets guy, and so I haven't been doing as much baking. So my sourdough starter lives in the fridge currently, waiting for me to feel well enough to bake with it. But I really enjoy baking. Another thing that I really enjoy, and this is what I do most of the time, is read. Because reading doesn't take any energy, honestly. And so that would be my favorite pastime right now, is reading. But I also really enjoy embroidery. So I have a small business, like a really, really small business for embroidery. And that's something that I enjoy doing in my pastime. I enjoy sewing as well, but that also takes a lot more energy. So I usually need a lot more energy to do that task. So right now, embroidery, reading, and baking are my favorite ways to pass time. But I do have a problem with doom scrolling. I feel like everybody does, but sometimes I end up doom scrolling. I still haven't picked my next victim. This guy needs to be repotted, but I'm not sure where to pot him. I think we'll repot this one. Question number 7. What am I currently doing to manage my illnesses? Currently, I'm also going to mention the things that I have tried but haven't worked for me, because I've tried a lot of things. Whoa! Look at this one. Look at that. Really rebound. Okay, we're gonna start for my endometriosis because that is one of my longest issues. So currently what I'm doing to manage my endometriosis is I go to bioresonance therapy every other week. And so that's like a 2-hour session where I'm attached to a machine that sends bioelectric frequencies into my body. I know that sounds creepy, but it's totally safe. It's something that is actually really recognized in Germany. Not so recognized out here, but it's helped me a lot. I've been doing it for about 3 to 4 years, and it's kind of the only way that I've been able to manage my endometriosis and keep it from getting worse. And so it's basically running a healthy frequency for a uterus and ovaries and other things against my unhealthy uterus and ovaries and other things. Basically is what it is. So that's one thing. I feel like let's try one of these. I'm also doing pelvic floor therapy, but currently I'm not really able to progress in my pelvic floor therapy because of my other illnesses. And so that is something that I would say would be beneficial if I was actually able to progress. Right now I'm not able to because you can have comorbidities alongside of your endometriosis that really affect certain aspects of endometriosis, and that makes it really, really difficult to progress sometimes in like pelvic floor management and that kind of thing. And so that is kind of where we're at. We're not able to progress. And so I have kind of only been going so that I don't lose my spot with this physiotherapist because she's really busy. But I would say that that is something that has been helpful. Things that I have tried for my endometriosis that did not work. Actually, sorry, one more thing that does work. Heating pad. I love my heating pad. It's my best friend. But unfortunately, it is causing burns on my stomach. I do always have like a piece of clothing in between, but apparently that's not enough. So, heating pads. And currently, so I don't like to use painkillers. I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but right now I'm able to manage mine with just like over-the-counter medication and only need it on my periods. And I'm very grateful for that, because that most over-the-counter methods do not work for endometriosis patients. And when I say that they work for me, they do not get rid of all of my pain. They just lessen it to a place where it's at least somewhat manageable. And when I say somewhat manageable, I am bedbound on my period. I'm not able to do very much on my period. I'm stuck to my heating pad on my period. But that's what makes over-the-counter methods still work for me, because if I would have to be up and about, then I would probably have to be on something stronger. But because I have the ability to just lie in bed on my period, it still works for me. Things that I have tried for my endometriosis that have not worked are birth control. It really messed with my like mental health, and so I stopped taking it, and that's when I started bioresonance therapy, and it has been very that has been the most beneficial for me. So why would I go back on birth control? I'm not. Oh, some other things that I'm doing that have been helpful. I do like pain suppositories, and so that is a prescription. And I also have like topical like pain like prescriptions as well. So those are also there's a spoon in there. That's also been beneficial for me. For my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, things that I have tried are acupuncture, dry needling, chiropractic care, massage, TENS units, and those things can be beneficial, but I found they only gave me like very short-term relief, like a day, maybe a week at the most. And so I do not regularly do those things. My husband will give me a massage quite frequently because he's really good at it. And my muscles, they do tighten up a lot and very easily. So massage, I would say is still beneficial. I just don't go to a professional because that was just not the most beneficial for me. Braces has been the most beneficial for me. Once I saw the right doctors and they were able to prescribe proper bracing for my body, that has helped me the most. I also use a cane to help with my pain and also to help with my POTS. That has been beneficial. When my joint pain is really bad, I use Tylenol arthritis, which takes kind of like that burning sensation out of my joints, and so that has been really helpful as well. Yeah, those are kind of the things that I've tried for that. For my POTS, just a minute here. For my POTS, I've tried a bunch of medications. I'm currently taking 3 medications to try to manage and balance my heart rate. So I am currently on Midodrine 3 times a day, Lancora once a day, and Mistinin right now it's once a day, but that one is new, and so we're working it into my routine. And the combo of those 3 is seeming to at least help somewhat. The mornings are still pretty rough. My heart rate does not want to regulate in the morning. And then other things that I have tried that they do work, but they don't work enough are compression socks, salt tablets, and electrolyte drinks. They help a little bit, but I can't just manage my POTS off of those things, unfortunately. And also, like I mentioned, I do use a cane when I am going out sometimes, not only for my pain, but for POTS symptoms. It really helps not tire me out so much and helps with my dizziness and instability. Ta-da! Cookie! Okay. I'm running out of spaces. I'm gonna move that. Move that. Move those. And then we can put you down. There. Okay. For my, like, stomach stuff, this one is, like, pretty broad, like I mentioned, because we don't know fully if I have these compression syndromes. So for my compression syndromes, there hasn't really been a whole lot of things that I've tried because it's very new. But for my stomach, I have tried a lot of things because I have had stomach issues my entire life. And so as a kid, things that I tried were like, just like Tylenol and laxatives, and I would do a lot of gravel growing up, and those things seemed to keep things working just fine. And then when I got into college, I would do like peppermint oil like on my stomach would help ease symptoms. I did a ton of gravel, still gravel, Pepto, you name it, I did it. And I also ended up going gluten-free, lactose-free, corn-free, and pork-free, and those things did help manage my symptoms for a very long time. It just hasn't really been doing anything for me right now, but I think if I were to eat those things, they would still really affect me, especially gluten, because I do react to that in the air. And we're pretty confident that I have celiac disease, but I was already on a gluten-free diet for quite a few years, and so it didn't pay to have to go back on gluten to get that confirmation. I kind of wish that I would have done that, but I didn't. And so when I'm going somewhere where, like when I could eat and I was going somewhere, we would just say that I have celiac disease, because otherwise people weren't taking my like cross-contamination seriously. And I react just as strongly as all of the celiacs in my life. And so we are pretty confident that there's a possibility of celiac, especially with the symptoms that I was having before I went gluten-free. Like I was having blood in my stool and tons of nausea, feeling sick. And whenever I would get glutened after that, I would get really, really, really sick. And so we're fairly confident in that. But what I am doing right now to try and manage my symptoms, honestly, not eating, which is unfortunate. I do still force myself to eat some things throughout the day, but it's just not very much at this point, because eating causes me a ton of pain. And so I eat like very soft foods, very like liquidy, that kind of thing. And that seems to help my symptoms. I often am wearing a heating pad, which helps my pain a ton. Not wearing tight pants or bras usually, because that causes me a ton of pain. And sometimes CBD, like along my pain line, can help, but yeah, pain meds do not touch it at all. So I just don't bother, because what's the point if it's not gonna work? Okay, I need to make decisions here because I've run out of dirt. So I might just have to wrap up this video and finish it another time. I literally only repotted 4 plants. and it's taken me like an hour. But let's finish up these questions, seeing as I'm not going to be able to finish up repotting. So, question number 8. Any funny chronic illness stories? So, I was trying to think, and I don't have like too many, but one that does come to mind was one time I was out in public with my cane, and I do get quite a few stares when I go out with my braces and my cane, because it's not common to see a young person using those things. But one time I was like in the dollar store and I was using my cane, and this lady came up to me and asked me where I got my cane, and she was like, I need one of those, and that was just kind of funny to me. Number 9, worst experience with a doctor. So I've had a couple not so positive experiences with doctors, which is unfortunate, but I would have to say one of my worst ones was when I was in college. So this was kind of before all of my illnesses came to a head. But I was having really weird symptoms, and diabetes does run in my family. And so I was having I was literally drinking 12 1-liter water bottles in a day. I was constantly drinking and very, very, very thirsty. And I was peeing every 5 minutes and felt very fatigued, and had really bad brain fog and just wasn't able to think straight. And so I had gone to the ER to get tested for diabetes because, like I said, it runs in my family. And I waited 4 hours to be seen by the doctor. And then when the doctor came in, he was like, what are you trying to pull? I was like, excuse me? And he's like, basically he was telling me that I was faking my symptoms and just doing it for attention, and that I didn't have diabetes and blah 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 blah. And he was just really mean and rude about it, and I left crying, which was not fair. And that would probably be my worst experience with the doctor. But like I said, there have been others, but if I had to pick one, that would take the cake. And my last question here is number 10, advice for others who are struggling. So I think my biggest piece of advice that I would give to other people who are struggling with their chronic illnesses is, it's not your fault. That is something that I've struggled with a lot, is blaming myself for my illnesses and for where my health is at. You can be doing everything right with your body to manage your health, and your health can still fail. And that's not your fault. And so I would recommend not blaming yourself when you're in a really low spot, to give yourself a lot of grace and to do something that you really enjoy, that brings up your mood. Even when you're not feeling great, that's often something that you just have to force yourself to do to bring yourself into a better spot. Even though it might flare some of your symptoms, of course, do that cautiously, but it's not your fault. And you're doing your best and you're doing great. And don't stop fighting for yourself. You are worth all of the fighting, honestly. That's also something that I've had to learn, is that I'm worth the fighting that I'm putting into getting these answers, because I do want to hopefully live a long life and be able to do more with my life than just lie in bed. And you're worth the fight, so don't give up. So that is my chronic illness Q&A while potting my plants. We didn't get very far, we made a big mess, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are still here after this long video, please give this video a like. And if you would like to continue to follow along on my journey, I would highly encourage you to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!